So now my top tips for your thesis process. Now I know Rick and Liza have also shared with you some of their great ideas for how to get through the thesis process, and I'm sure to some extent will be different and to some extent will overlap. But these are mine. These are the ones which have helped me, and these are the ones that I think are important. The first tip is keep everything. Any notes you make at any time about when you're thinking about thesis topic, even in the earlier embryonic days when maybe you're doing a research methods class or something like that, or even in your application process to the program, draft proposals, ideas that wake you up at 2 a.m. in the morning and you just jot them down. All these may prove useful in the final cut, even if you go through times when they don't seem relevant or necessary. But you never know that some gem of insight or wisdom was captured that you then forget. So keep everything that you have. The second tip I have is always keep a very, very careful track of your references and citations. If you note something down from an article, always make sure you cite it in the notes. Keep a record of the full reference in whatever database that you're using to capture that. Add the citation to the end. Keep a reference list that you're appending to your thesis as it develops. Finding something where something came from in your final thesis, if you find that you need to have a citation for something, if you don't have these records, is extremely difficult and time consuming. You'll probably be reading dozens, if not possibly even hundreds of references while you do this, and you may not even remember the reference that you've done. You may just extracted one particular piece of information from it. It hasn't proved crucial to your overall argument, but you still need to have it in your reference list and cite it. So don't lose track of that information. While you're writing your thesis, try and do a little as often as you can. It's much easier to just write a sentence or two here and there than it is to try and sit down and finish off 10,000 words in one sitting. The more you ignore your thesis, the more daunting it will become. The more you do little tiny bits over a period of time, the more you'll suddenly realize you've got almost all your thesis done already without even realizing it. And my final tip is really just focus. A master's thesis is a very specific piece of work. It should have a research question that has clear boundaries, and the thesis should stick within those boundaries, as that will make it a much stronger piece of work. It'll make it much more understandable. It'll come to a much stronger conclusion. Yes, there's all sorts of interesting tangents. There's all sorts of interesting things and phenomena out there in the world that can drag you away from your core message. But a master's thesis is a relatively tight and not small piece of work, but it's a very focused piece of work, and that's what marks out a good master's thesis from an average master's thesis, is the degree to which the person who's done the research can focus on what they're doing and stick to it from the start to the finish. So there are really my tips, and I hope they don't directly contradict with Liza and Rick's, but I hope you found them useful.